Biological and circadian rhythms. Biological rhythms are periodic fluctuations in physiological function. Um, Periodic meaning, they happen periodically. Like, for example, molting in birds. What I have over here is a picture of a chicken, a particular chicken called a Baird Rock. And every fall, about now, in fact, I have three chickens, and they're starting to molt. That is, they're starting to lose their old feathers, and they are starting to add new feathers. And they look really ugly, and they look really silly, but it is a biological rhythm, and it is related to the length of the day. So when the day starts to shorten in the fall, in the autumn, chickens lose many of their feathers to prepare for new downy feathers to get them through the winter. So biological rhythms are just these periodic biological, physiological changes in function um, that happen. And they happen in a lot of animals. Now, circadian rhythms are special biological rhythms that are on a 24-hour cycle. And they're on a 24-hour cycle because of the sun, okay? Because of our day is 24 hours long, and we've evolved in an environment and in a world in which the sun comes up at a certain time of day, and it sets at a certain time of day, and it comes up again at roughly the same time the next day. So circadian rhythms are 24-hour biological rhythms found in humans and other species. So they're a subclass of biological rhythms. The example that we point to with respect to variations in consciousness or its relationship to consciousness is this sleep-wake cycle. Sorry about that. The day-night cycle. In the morning, you arouse, you get up and get moving, you start to become active, and so on throughout the day. You're moving around, you're even more active. In the evening, you start to slow down, you start to tire, you settle down. At night, you go to sleep, and then in the morning, you do it all over again. And it's a cycle of activity and arousal and alertness that has a 24-hour pattern. Now, this is tuned into the sun. It's like clockwork. It really is. It's entrained by a light cycle, and what that means is that the important features here are exposure to the sun and sun up and sun down. People in non-illuminated environments, like blind people or people that live near the Arctic Circle, or people in constantly illuminated spaces, can have disrupted circadian rhythm cycles. This is how we know that it's entrained to the light. So alertness, even core body temperature, is an example of a circadian rhythm. It goes up during the day, and then as we go to sleep, it goes down, it decreases. The secretion of hormones is also under circadian rhythm. We see a similar pattern where we see secretions as we start to go to sleep, and then at other times, and depending on the hormones, but we have many circadian rhythms in our bodies. Um, if we ignore or alter or try to alter the sleep-wake cycle, this variations in consciousness across this 24-hour period, it can have serious consequences. Um, we can get jet lagged if we travel too many time zones, and therefore when we're exposed to the sun is different than when we're normally exposed to it. If you try to do night shift or overtime work, for example, that's another case in which you can have a disrupted sleep-wake circadian cycle. And think about this as a personal example. I mean, when I was in college, a lot of times I went home for Thanksgiving weekend, and all I did was sleep. And usually I had struggled when I got back to school because I was on a fairly regular schedule where I was getting up and going to bed at roughly the same time. I went home for Thanksgiving, and all I did was sleep and eat, and watch football, right? So it's not hard to alter your sleep-wake cycle and ignore it or disrupt it. The disruption includes things like drowsiness. Obviously, you're tired, but there are also important performance effects, and this is a societal issue and something to be concerned about. And that is, people that work night shifts and overtimes generally aren't as good at their jobs as people that are working within their light dark cycle or within their circadian rhythm. Now, some people can reverse their cycle so that, or alter it and maintain it in a positive way, and then alertness and performance on your job maybe doesn't have such enormous effects. But this is a problem for people that work a lot. That you're not getting, and if you're a boss at some point in time in your life, and you're thinking about the guy that works 50 hours a week, you might want to think about how effective he is or she with those last 10 hours of the week. You know, if you're tired, you're just not as good. It also, disrupted sleep-wake cycles also lead or increase your risk for certain diseases like heart disease and high blood pressure. So this is not just a psychological effect. There are real physical, medical problems associated with sleep disruption. Now, it's easy to realign your circadian rhythm. Um, we call it sometimes, or people have referred to it in the research realm as re-entrainment. Um, so when you don't have enough sleep, when you're sleep deprived, it's typically overcome with a good night's sleep. Um, and as long as you're seeing the sun, you can be entrained pretty quickly. Oversleeping may require a little bit tougher schedule. You might have to apply a sort of rigid rule that you're going to get up at a certain time of day and you're going to go to bed at a certain time of day. Um, so when your sleep wake cycle can be disrupted in the sense that you have not enough sleep, but it can also be disrupted in the sense that you get too much, or um, you're not in the cycle that's consistent with your circadian cycle. So oversleeping, as many of us know, is harder to overcome. You got to sort of have those couple of days where you sort of really force yourself to stay up or get up and go to bed early and get up at the same time. A lot of people claim that there are important effects of melatonin. This is one of the hormones that's related to sleep, but hormone supplements, melatonin supplements, the data are not clear. They're in the science we would say they're equivocal. Sometimes we get positive effects, sometimes there's no positive effects. So it's a mix of issues. Um, so if you're having sleep problems, one of the questions that I ask is, could you come up with a list of things or behaviors that would be a good thing to do? And therapists talk about good sleep hygiene. So if you're really having sleep problems, one of the first thing that people are going to tell you to do is to exercise good sleep hygiene. This means sleeping only in your bed, a comfortable bed, one that's well temperature regulated. It's not too warm, it's not too cold. It's comfortable. This doesn't mean this means you don't get to sleep on a couch. The only time that you sleep is when you're in your bed, and you only sleep from a certain period of time. You go to bed at the same time each night. You get up at the same time each morning. Um, Not only do you sleep only in your bed, you only sleep in your bed, and what that means is you don't do other activities in your bed. You don't read in your bed. You don't watch TV in your bed. You don't study in your bed. You don't be, you should even maybe even avoid intimacy in your bed. Do that on the couch. Um, but even more important is many sleep counselors and people working with people with sleep problems say that if you're in your bed and you can't sleep, you should get up and do something else for a brief time. If you're not falling asleep within 20 minutes, you should get up and go do something else. If you're not falling, you shouldn't just lay in bed not sleeping. Go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. Many therapists will recommend covering your clock. Don't look at your clock; it just causes anxiety. Don't. So that's a biological and circadian rhythms and how it's related to the sleep-wake cycle and at least an introduction to sleep.